Hello, this is an exercise in shading. And before we start to draw realistic things, this is a really good exercise to practice your understanding of shading organic shapes, shapes of nature, curved shapes, biomorphic shapes, uh, non-geometric shapes. You could do this with geometric shapes, but I want you to practice with organic shapes. So I'm going to demonstrate how to create your design to apply your shading. And my goal here is to create, let's say, at least 15 different unique shapes, organic shapes, curved shapes. And this design does not have to look like anything. It can be very abstract. It's not realistic. It's just curved shapes. So I'm going to start off with curved shapes overlapping. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, maybe 18, 19 shapes. But that's okay. This is approximately the amount of different curved shapes that I want you to try to create a design for yourself. Now, you designed your own coloring book for your design, okay? And we're not just going to keep it as line. This is the project you did first prior to this design, which is the scale of light to dark with pencil, okay? So go watch that video on how to create this. And now, this is my guide to pick and choose. I'm going to add these separate values within this design. And I'm going to shorten up this. Okay, so you get to pick and choose and color in each shape with these different values. Just different shades of gray. Okay, so on this bottom left one, I can start off with a 1. And by doing this, you have that kind of like muscle memory of how to create this shape and form. And you just want kind of like the same shade throughout the whole piece. You might want to try little circles. Some people like to do little circles. It makes it easier rather than short little straight lines. Okay, that's almost done here. So this next little shape here, I'm going to go with something darker, maybe a 3 or a 4. And the reason I'm choosing something different is to give it contrast. So I want that shape to stand out. So you have a guide for yourself in terms of lights and darks. And I want to make the whole shape that different value. Okay, so the next shape on the other side, I'll go back to a number 1 or a number 2, kind of light. This will be fairly light. This will be light. And by doing this project, you're getting used to shading, and it's not super stressful. Uh, you have to kind of build up to your skill level, and this exercise is it's such a I say a doable exercise. It's not something that's going to overwhelm people, and my goal here is to make each shape distinct with these different values. You can move your paper different angles. And using flat shapes is a great way to understand shading. And it can get a little bit more complex later on, gradients and curved lights and shapes and forms. But right now, just flat shapes and areas are totally fine. I have a bigger pencil here, and it's like it's makes it so much easier to get large areas of coverage. And you want to build up the surface. You don't have to get that dark right away. You just need to start off with a layer and put more layers on top in different directions. And that's how you get your smooth surface for each of those squares and sections. And consistency, patience. Try not to rush this project and last minute or just speed through it. Take your time. Be careful and make it neat, tidy. Don't make it sloppy. So, do you see how each of these shapes and forms are distinct and coming out? That is the goal. The goal is not to draw something realistic. The goal here is to create elegant, interesting shapes, organic shapes, curved shapes. I think the hard part, the challenge here, is to make the surface the same light or dark or gray. It's not easy. It takes going back and you're training your eye to see light and dark, texture, consistency, shapes and forms. And by doing this, you're going to set yourself up to be able to understand more complex ways of doing shading, lighting, bounce light, multiple light sources. It's going to build up to those things, either in this class or drawing one. So and I keep going until I have, my 5 different shades throughout this thing. And notice how large it is. I want you to really expand and use the whole surface of your paper, okay? And the reason is I don't want you to be tiny little drawings that are precious, and it's going to give it a boldness to your design and really showcase your skill with lights and darks. So in essence, this is another exercise to enhance your sensitivity as an artist to different fundamentals of drawing and art. what's really nice about this exercise, using pencil and paper, it's you connect to the surface, the materials, the design. It's very accessible, it's not super expensive. But then when you take this kind of sensitivity or understanding of shapes and forms, it can help you to render things on a computer, a tablet, digital artwork. These are the basic building blocks of creating illustrations, artwork, designs, compositions. And notice I'm just going back in and trying to even out the tones. I don't want to make this area smudge, so what I'm going to do is get an extra piece of paper, put on top to rest my hand on. Okay, that's the progress I've made so far. So you notice how the shapes and forms are standing out. So there's a dark area here, so I'll go a little bit lighter in this area. And I had no preconceived idea of this design. I just kind of went with just organic shapes and forms. You know, I have at least, like 18, 19 shapes. And I think that's a good amount for this exercise. I think once you have too many shapes, then it becomes really tedious and just kind of just really time consuming. And so I think this level of complexity is a good amount. I'm gonna make this inside area a little bit darker. So as a creative exercise, you are molding and shaping this design, this two-dimensional design. And by putting time into adding detail and shading and lights and darks and shapes, you can bring interest to your subject. You can make it more eye-catching by having contrast of lights and darks. Before we get into color, with just dealing with lights and darks, it's very important to understand that and be able to control that as you as the designer, the artist, the director. You get to choose where everything goes, how it looks, what's the presentation. So notice how this shape here is getting slowly a little bit darker and darker. Not completely black, but just dark gray. And I'm spending time on this. I'm not in any great hurry. I'm trying to really define these shapes and forms. I want to make the shapes distinct. Notice when you have the different shapes with different values of lights and darks, how the line disappears, the division of line to show the different shapes. Now the shapes stand out by virtue of its light and dark properties. Okay, I have one more shape left to go here. So what gray will I put in here? Let's see, let's start off with just a light, very light gray. Wow, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, maybe 18 or 19 different shapes. And I'm pretty happy with this design. I like the evenness of tone, the complexity of shapes, and I've demonstrated showing the different values of lights and darks. And each individual shape, for the most part, stand out. little circles, even out the. Do you see the connection between the different values within this design? And the shapes stand out because there are light areas next to darker areas. Okay, I'm going to finish up this design with I created these little handmade rolls of paper. You can take extra drawing paper or scraps, just roll them up, and you can use them as little blending sticks. Helps you blend down, change the texture. You can buy these too. They're called tortillon, little blending stumps. I don't want to overdo it with this blending stump, but I just want to go back in some areas, just kind of just lightly go over. Okay, we're almost done here. There we go. And I'll just take my pencil and just kind of clean up the area around the shapes. Okay, that's it for this drawing demonstration, and good luck to you on your variation of this exercise.